If you are a tech enthusiast who can make sense of the labyrinth that is today's laptop market with all its different specs, form factors and features, chances are you will get the occasional question from friends, family or sometimes even co-workers about what laptop they should buy. And more often than not, we are not talking about hardcore or, well, even casual gamers, and the data scientist or the content creator in your family probably also already knows what they need themselves. But we are talking your parents, maybe even your grandparents, your friends with a 9 to 5 and everybody else who just needs a laptop to do everything without the need for the fastest mobile GPUs, the highest core count CPUs and everything else that makes sense to us, the enthusiasts, but sounds like a viral disease for everybody else. And I'm fairly certain that our loved ones do not really care about Cinebench scores or 3D Mark times by records. However, the most important aspects are the overall experience, ease of use, battery life, and of course, price. And together with Acer and Snapdragon, who sponsored this very video today, we will talk about a laptop that actually does really well in all of these categories. And as someone who is mostly dealing with the absolute high-end notebooks you could imagine, this was actually a very interesting video to make. Since when I got my hands on the Aspire 16 right here in front of me, I was genuinely surprised how much laptop you get for a very reasonable price. And I would have absolutely no problem recommending this sleek 16-incher to my friends and family. But as always, let's start at the beginning and I'll tell you why Snapdragon X series processors might be the perfect fit for laptops below the magical $1,000 mark. Let's get into it. Alright, so we talked about experience, and of course the first thing you notice when trying a laptop for the first time is how it looks and feels, and this was also one of the areas that really surprised me when getting my hands on the Acer Aspire, since for a laptop that can be yours for actually below $800 in its starting config, this one is really well made. The sleek chassis comes in at just around 1.7 kg, so it's quite easy to have it with you wherever you are going. And as you may have noticed already, we are not in our usual studio, since it's actually IFA right now in Germany, and I will have the Aspire with me all day as my mobile writing machine for scripts to stay up to date with YouTube comments, and also edit the occasional content from one of the biggest consumer electronics shows in Europe. Despite its low weight, we still get aluminum top and bottom covers, and overall, Acer has put together a well-looking and sturdy laptop that should be able to survive your daily commutes to work, university or wherever else you need your mobile companion with you. And usually, within this price range we are talking about here, you will have to expect some compromises, especially with ports for example, but once again, not with this one. And while a pair of USB-A's is pretty standard, having two full-fledged USB 4s in a budget machine is pretty neat and opens up a ton of additional flexibility. Since these do not only charge your new laptop, but they also allow you to connect high-resolution displays, docking solutions, high-speed networking, and of course all sorts of peripherals. In addition, you get an HDMI 2.1 to give you even more options for connecting displays and a micro SD card reader to offload the images from your last vacation with the family. And if you want to stay in touch with your loved ones or attend classes or meetings virtually, Acer also throws in a 2-megapixel webcam, which is quite nice in this sort of price range. I mentioned taking this one to IFA, especially for taking notes and working on a bunch of scripts, so I am ready to record videos as soon as I get back to the studio. So I also quite enjoyed the overall feel of the Aspire's keyboard, and again, the quality you get here surprised me once again. Despite the slim chassis, you get a decent amount of travel with a tactile feel and satisfying feedback, so the 16-incher could also make for a great study companion to keep up with all your daily lectures. So this covers the sort of external qualities of the Acer Aspire 16, but what kind of experience do you get when actually using it? Well, again, usually when trying to hit a lower price range, it became quite common to equip budget laptops with older generations of CPUs. So your overall performance experience, even when doing non-demanding tasks, could be lacking a little, since the underlying architecture of the silicon running your new machine isn't, in fact, well, new. Snapdragon is taking a slightly different approach with the Snapdragon X series processors, and while the chip powering the Aspire is of course not their fastest option, the general architecture is the same as in their high-end lineup. But what does this mean for you? Well, you get the benefits and features that come with the latest and greatest, so you do get some very solid performance for pretty much everything you will do with such a machine. So imagine having a ton of tabs open in your browser of choice when planning your next vacation, or watching a bunch of streams while messaging with your friends, or writing scripts or emails for work, or pretty much everything in between. In addition, these Snapdragon notebook processors are also incredibly efficient. And I do not only mean this in terms of overall battery life, as impressive as it is, but more about that later, but you can also just close this one and come back a few days later without having to deal with your laptop losing juice without you actually using it. And as soon as you open it back up, the Aspire comes to life instantly, so you can get back to work or just watch the latest videos from your favorite tech channels in an instant. And even if you do fire up some more demanding applications, the 8-core silicon handles itself quite decently, and I used it with Capture One during IFA and with Photoshop to do some quick edits for our social media channels and never felt particularly held back here. And that is despite the fact that Capture One is not even a native app but is emulated. But again, that is something you will hardly notice, and in general, for everything I used the Acer Aspire, I did not run into any trouble at all with overall compatibility. So while the most common apps you will probably use do have native Windows on Snapdragon versions by now, the Snapdragon X Plus processor inside the Aspire is fast enough in general so that it can easily handle emulating some more specialized software without you even noticing. Alright, so I teased it before, but ideally, you would want to use such a laptop whenever and wherever you want without having to worry too much about battery life. And since Snapdragon processors are, again, very new and shiny when it comes to their manufacturing process, they are amongst the best of the best when it comes to efficiency. So for most tasks, you can simply leave your charger at home and enjoy all-day battery life with this one, and in our standardized Wi-Fi test that simulates surfing the web, I got pretty impressive results, almost scratching the 20-hour mark. And even during IFA, I did not even bother bringing the USB-C charger, since I knew I wouldn't need it anyway, which is actually something very new to me as someone who mostly uses gaming laptops. So yeah, leaving my laptop charger at home is something very different for me, but I got to say it's quite nice. Again, the Acer Aspire 16 is not made for the latest AAA games, or your super advanced 4K video edits, or anything workstation related, but it simply excels for everything you would casually do with a laptop. And thanks to Snapdragon's latest laptop silicon, you get a snappy performance experience, instant wake from sleep behavior, incredibly long standby time, and more than all-day battery life. And all of this is wrapped in a well-made and sleek-looking chassis, featuring a ton of ports, a 120Hz IPS panel, and comfortable inputs. And I still have a hard time wrapping my head around the price point here. But as always, let me know what you think about this one. And if you want to know more about the Acer Aspire 16 or the Snapdragon platform, feel free to follow the links below. Thanks a ton for watching, folks. Make sure to leave a like and sub on your way out. My name is Alex, you have been absolutely fantastic, and I cannot wait to see you all in the next one. Take care.